Hi everybody, my name's Mallory Murray. I'm the owner of Hoofbeats in Harmony, which is a horsemanship program based in Oxford, North Carolina. And I wanted to share this session that I had with Felix earlier today with you. I had covered some hay with some plastic like this the other day, and I had noticed that Felix was pretty bothered by it. And so I brought some into the arena so that I could work on building his confidence. As you can see here, I'm playing a little bit of approach and retreat. I'm trying to find his thresholds. So whenever you're working with a fearful horse, or a fearful human for that matter, you want to be really careful not to push them over the thresholds. If you had a fear of heights, you wouldn't want your friend to take you bungee jumping and just push you off the edge. That would it wouldn't help with your fear of heights, and it would probably hurt your relationship with your friend. You would lose a lot of trust in your friend by them doing that. And so it's the same with our horses. I want to set up situations to help him build his confidence, but I'm not going to force him into crossing the tarp because that's going to be counterproductive. I'm going to lose the trust that I have, that he has in me, and I'm not going to help him build his emotional fitness with tarps and plastic bags. And so I want to find the thresholds and not push him over it, but just kind of sit there with him and let him think about it. You can see how he's trying to calm down. He's been taught different mechanisms to help himself calm down. He's been taught to lower his head. He's been taught to breathe. He checks back in with me. And so I'm going to allow him time to do that and then send him away and reapproach. So horses build confidence by approach and retreat. So they approach a scary object and they kind of analyze it, think about it right at where their threshold starts, and then they'll leave and then they'll come back. You can watch this if you put a scary object out in your horse's pasture or pen. They'll approach it and kind of snort at it and think about it a little bit, and then they'll go away from it, and then they'll come back maybe a little closer and do it again. And so I'm just setting that up with me here in order to build his confidence. You can see how he's trying to calm himself down. His head is down, he's blinking, he's breathing. He's really trying to get to that thinking side of his brain where he's able to analyze what's going on and think through the situation. I'm not going to push him to go over it. I'm just asking him to approach it to his threshold, wherever that happens to be, then wait a minute, think about it, and then retreat and reapproach. I'm going to just do one side and then the other side. You can see he's getting a little closer each time. This time he touches it and it startles himself a little bit. But it's a very minor startle. Like he doesn't spook, he doesn't bolt, he just jumps a little bit. And that's because he's starting from a place of relaxation. He is not upset, he's not extremely tense. I want him to stay calm and confident throughout the process because I want him to be confident as a learner. I want him to be confident in his ability to think through scary situations and learn. You can see he's really trying here. He's worried. He wants to back up a little bit. And here I'm waiting for him to check in with me before I ask him to retreat. So I'm allowing him to look at it and think about it right there at that threshold. So he can't go any closer than that, and that's okay. And I wait until he checks in with me a little bit. There it is. And then I send him away and ask him to approach it from the other side. So I wait until he asks me a question, and then I answer his question by telling him that he's allowed to retreat and will reapproach on that other side. Again, I'm just encouraging that natural process. It's showing him that I'm the kind of leader that understands how he feels and understands how he thinks, and that he can trust the process and trust me, even in scary situations. Again, head down. He's trying to calm his emotions. He's trying to think through the situation. And so it's really important to give him the time he needs to do that. I'm just giving him the time he needs and waiting for him to either check in with me or to stop thinking about the tarp. Like if he were to look away from me, which I think he does here, yeah. He starts to look away, and I'm like, okay, let's bring your mind back to what we're doing. I'm going to ask you to retreat and reapproach on the other side. So I want him either thinking about the puzzle that I've presented to him, or I want him checking in with me. If he starts to get distracted, then I'll just bring his attention back to what we're doing. He started to get a little distracted, so I'm going to send him away and reapproach. And you just repeat this process. It can take 5 minutes, it can take 3 hours. Like, you just have to stick with it and focus on building that horse's confidence and not pushing them over any thresholds. So here I'm asking him for a little more. And he says, no, I'm not ready for that. And then so I ask him to retreat. And so it's okay to ask for more. You just need to make sure that it's an ask, not a tell. So you don't want to force your horse over any thresholds. You can ask, because that's the way that you can find where the threshold is. And so I was thinking that maybe he could get a little bit closer, that he was a little bit more confident than he actually was. And so I asked him if it would be okay if he could get closer. And he told me no, he wasn't ready for that. And so I accepted that answer and I allowed him to go around. And now you can see he's licking and chewing and releasing a little bit of tension because he feels heard. It's two-way communication. He communicates with me and I am able to communicate with him. But it's important to have a horse that understands that saying no is an option. I'm not looking for obedience, I'm looking for confidence here and communication. Good, and there I asked him for a little more and he said yes, and he gave it a little try. Because he knows that I wasn't going to push him, and so he had the confidence in me and in himself that he was able to give a little bit more. And we'll reapproach on this side. Good. I love the curiosity. Curiosity and confidence go hand in hand. Because he's thinking, he's trying to figure this puzzle out. And here I'm going to ask him for a little more, just like I did before. And he says no, and that's okay. He says, I'm not ready. And so I accept that answer, and we're going to reapproach on the other side. And I don't lose any confidence that way. And so we reapproach on this side. The wind is blowing it a little, so he's got a little nervous. And I allow him to back up just a little bit. And then I ask him to reapproach it instead of sending him away. And he says, I don't know about that. And so I go ahead and help him retreat, and we'll reapproach from the other side. He's checking it out again. Love the curiosity. Always encourage curiosity. And then when he looks to me as a question, I say, hey bud, why don't you keep going? And again, he doesn't feel comfortable keeping going. So it's always okay to ask as long as you're okay with the answer being no. Otherwise, it's not really a question, it's a demand. That's all right. So I ask him for a little more. I'm like, you can do it, buddy. I'm going to encourage him. Good. And I'm going to have him go through instead of retreat. So we had started getting into a little bit of a pattern where he backs up, turns, and goes the other way, which is great in the beginning. But as his confidence grows, I want to see him thinking more forward. And so I'm going to start having him go through instead of around. He doesn't have to go over the tarp. But instead of retreating away, I want him walking past it. So I allow him to think. It's just a next step up because you can see he's fairly relaxed. He's a little worried, but he's fairly relaxed. And so I'm going to back away so that he has some space, but still have him think through. And that way he's still retreating. He's just retreating in a little bit different way. And this helps get the idea of going forward and through it. Because we were starting to get into the pattern where he was thinking I wanted him to approach it and then walk away from it. And so we're just changing that up a little bit to where I want him to walk past it. And he can walk past it on either side. He can walk in between me and the tarp, or he can walk on the other side of it. But that way he's thinking through. I don't like to do this at first because sometimes in a really worried horse, if it gets behind them, then they just go faster and faster. It's better to turn and retreat and then turn back and retreat and approach again rather than going around and around in circles. But this is that next step. Once you have a horse that's calm and curious, you can start getting them thinking forward so that they'll eventually walk across it. You can see he's taking little baby steps. He's really trying here. He wants to do it. He knows I probably want him to walk across it. There's a question. And instead of encouraging him to retreat that time when he asked a question, I said, yeah, you're doing fine. Keep going. I'm encouraging him a little more again here. And there, we have his foot on it. You can see here he's a little bit kind of avoiding or kind of ignoring. He kind of internalizes there. And so I ask him to keep moving. As I don't want him to just kind of freeze on the tarp and just blindly accept it and be like, oh, well, I guess I'm doing this now. I want him to think his way through. So we'll approach again. And this time he's thinking his way through. He's sniffing, he's blinking as he walks through. And now we're going to keep repeating this until he doesn't have any hesitation. Good. He's still a little bit hesitant, but it's much better that time. And notice his body is staying soft. And he's staying calm and relaxed the entire time. Very good. We'll do it one more time, just to make sure there's no hesitation. Calm, confident, relaxed. Look at him check it out as he goes over, but no hesitation. And so then I go ahead and switch directions. And we're going to see if that confidence transfers to this side. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. You can see he's a little bit more worried on this side because he hasn't crossed it going this way yet. And that's okay. I'm still going to wait. And here he has a fairly big release. You can see his tongue coming out, and it's hard to see in the video, but he was releasing his jaw as well. He was kind of rocking his jaw back and forth. I thought he was going to yawn, but he didn't. But a fairly big release. Lots of blinking. And so I just wait. And it's interesting that he's able to have that big release with his feet on the tarp. Good. And same thing as the other side. We repeat. Because consistency helps build confidence. Just because he can do it once doesn't mean that he's fully confident. I'm going to give him a little bit of encouragement. Notice I give him encouragement before he gets to the tarp, but not while he's going over the tarp. I'll give him a little encouragement when he's behind the tarp on the other side, and then I just allow him to go over the tarp. That way he doesn't feel rushed or pushed as he's going over it. He's still a little hesitant. Nice calm walk. And then the wind picks up and he goes, oh, I don't know about that. And I'm going to encourage him a little here and be like, you can do it, bud. I want you to think about it. And he decides that he can walk right across. And that's exactly what we're working towards. So the wind bothered him a little bit, but instead of bolting, he just kind of spooked a little bit. And then he was immediately able to calm himself down and walk across the tarp. And so I give him quite a bit of encouragement there, but I wasn't forcing him over. There he's blowing out, licking and chewing. Because he proved to himself that he could handle something like that. But by this point, I had enough confidence and trust between the two of us that I was able to encourage him, be like, you're okay, buddy. Like, I know that scary thing happened, but you can trust me that you're going to be fine. And so I gave him a little more encouragement than I usually would there. And he trusted me and decided to go through with it. And now you can see his walk's much more fluid. His head's bobbing up and down a little more. He's walking with more purpose and more confidence. Because he knows he can handle it. He goes, ooh, it blew a little bit. And there he looked at me. And I asked him to keep going. I love how he looked at me there. He says, what should I do? I'm a little worried. What should I do? And that's where that leadership comes in. I want him to look to me for safety and comfort. I want him to look to me and say, well, what should I do? Not just panic. And that time it blew and he went, that's no big deal. But this is the kind of confidence that lasts. Desensitizing doesn't work because there's always something that they're more scared of. Whereas if you can build their confidence and build their emotional fitness, then you build a confident, calm horse that can think through any situation. And that's what we want.